like to start our session now. So I hand it over to Mr. Shushovan Mukherjee.
Infosec Foundation, what we are trying to do, what in cyber security space, what can be done. So I'll request Parthoda to talk few lines.
Shushobhan came to me that we would like to do something of this kind. It was really exciting looking at his energy, the level of enthusiasm he came in, and he told us that, that we would like to do this kind of an event in Kolkata. This kind of a series happens in Kolkata, but in pockets. And I've seen ABP to do that. I've seen little events from DSCI. I have seen little event from NASCOM. But doing at this stature, the way Shushovan is and his team is doing it, it is really great and wonderful. So once you talk about different product, so once you get a threat, do you have a common platform to address those threats together? Because you have bought one, that best-in-class product in antivirus, you have bought one best-in-class product in the firewall, you have bought one best-in-class product on the intrusion detection system, all best-in-class products. Do they talk to each other when you have got an issue, and do they collaborate with each other to address the issue holistically, as for your defense, like one guy who is a technical product guy who is talking to each other?
So what we'll do is, in the next 30 minutes or so, we'll try and cover whatever challenges that Parthada mentioned, and it's so right, he hasn't changed. I'm meeting him after 2 years, and every time I meet him, he poses the challenges to the vendors, to the partners, and whatever challenges he says is the latest trend. So Parthada, whatever you talked about, I think I would probably be addressing all of them, right, out here, how we are doing it in terms of collaboration, in terms of point products, the challenges you're facing, in terms of patching that you mentioned, right? That's one thing, good thing or bad thing, I'll just kind of cover that up. So, one thing I think before I start here, right, when we got this opportunity from the Infosec team, we were very tempted to talk about Palo Alto Networks, right? What is Palo Alto Networks? What kind of products? We are Gartner leaders for the last 6 years, continuous years. We are in endpoint, we are in cloud, blah, 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 blah. But then we thought, is it the right forum to talk about that? Because you as business leader, you'll be, I think, loaded with vendors like us knocking at your doors, right? Talking about their product, their advantages, what they do day in, day out. So we thought we'll talk about not our products, but innovation. Innovation that will address the challenges that, Parthada mentioned. Innovation that we know and we believe that will disrupt the cybersecurity space today. And if you look at disruption, right, the way disruption happens is not that you come up with an idea and say, yeah, that thought will disrupt the market. But interestingly, the way disruption happens is, the market is ready for disruption, and then you tell how you're going to do that, right? And that has happened in other markets as well. If you look at Uber, right? Not that Uber came with an idea and accidentally disrupted the market in the taxi and the limo space, but they knew the market in the taxi space was ready for disruption, and they went about executing that. You look at Tesla in the car industry, or you look at Airbnb in the accommodation space, or you look at Micromax in the smartphone space. Now I wanted somebody to correct me here. What has Micromax bought as disruption? It's Apple. Somebody needs to be correcting me here, right? So that shows that nobody's paying attention right now. So what Apple bought in the smartphone spaces, right? So in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to talk about 3 things here, right? One is a very macro level thing, that why cybersecurity is imperative for economic prosperity of any country or company.
Now today you are showing that firewalling as a service is almost become a cloud-based service. All the other services which a firewall needs to, in order to give a comprehensive protection to the network, these are also coming from the cloud, right? So are we gradually coming to this day when the firewall no more needs to be as a box, as a device in my network? Does everything, almost the whole of my enterprise protection moves to the cloud, including all the services which you are offering, or rather which is going to become the suite of services that a customer needs to have?
Just go on cloud from there. You get the same capabilities, same policy which manages both on-premise and the cloud piece.
Information security of cybersecurity is an existential issue for the human species in the increasingly networked world. Infosec Foundation is a non-profit awareness building platform dedicated to cybersecurity and working on a collaborative framework to blend users, manufacturer, police, government, providers, policymakers and other respective stakeholders. Infocon Global took birth as a concept in March 2016 post Bangladesh Bank cyber fraud. This is one of the stepping stones in our Vision 2025 roadmap. In November 2016, we had the biggest event of Infosec Global, which was a grand success, where we had participants and delegates from across the industry, government, police, corporate, banks and other non-profit organizations. During the day, there were deliberations, workshops and panel discussions with some definite takeaways having deep ramifications for the ecosystem. He's a BE Mechanical from Roorkee University and holds a diploma in police management from Osmania University. Can I just request you all to put your hands together for him once again? I would request our hostesses to come up on the stage and greet our dignitaries with bouquets of flowers. Mr. Shushobhon Mukherjee to hand over the flower bouquet to the all four dignitaries. Oh no, fine. Can I request Mr. Nirupam Chaudhuri, the Regional Director, NASSCOM, to hand over the flower bouquet to Mr. Shushobhon Mukherjee. I request you all to kindly be seated now.
Sir, you also please come forward.
Can I request Mr. Shushobhon Mukherjee, the Chairman, Infosec Foundation and CEO, Prime InfoServe LLP, to come on the stage and deliver the welcome address now.
Good morning all. Okay, thank you. So, and a warm welcome to our Infosec Global 2017, the second edition. So, we welcome our honorable dignitaries on the dais, Chief Guest Dr. Sanjay Behel, Sri Devashish Sen, Sri Shyamol Datto, Sri Hari Kushumkar Sir, Sri Vinit Goel, and all our speakers, our honorable guests, our delegates. Today's session, cyber security is close to my heart, but today's session is not about me to speak something. We have lot of dignitaries across the vertical, across the geography. We are here to listen to from all of them. But let me just brief what is the philosophy about Infosec Foundation. So, Infosec Foundation, it has been formed around 2 years back. Once if you might be knowing about the cyber security incidents in Bangladesh, then gradually formed this non-profit initiative to build the ecosystem, the platform. The philosophy of this foundation is to cross-connect, to synergize the different vertical people. Like today morning we are meeting someone, he said that Microsoft has suddenly changed their policies. Suddenly patch updation from 70 MB is becoming cumulative around 700 MB. How we can find out kind of solution for that? So we users keep on complaining nothing is happening. But a foundation like us, what we are trying to do is how the relevant information can reach to the relevant people. What government is doing, maybe we are not aware of. What technology people are doing, what law enforcement is doing, we are not aware of. So the platform like this, we are trying to hear all industry delegates, all people, what are the things happening. So that our main problem is not about technology, not about cyber, it is about our ignorance. It is about our overconfidence. We all feel we are very safe. We always feel I am safe, some fire is in my neighbor's house, so nothing will happen to me. So it is time to wake up for all of us. We are not safe anywhere across the globe. So platform like this, we will try to collaborate, exchange ideas, build an ecosystem where we can understand from each other much better knowledge. So that's all. Welcome once again, and now we'll hear out from our delegates. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
I must at the outset compliment Infosec Foundation and its president Shushabon Mukherjee for having taken such a laudable step in such a difficult area at a time when cyber security challenges are mounting every day, and we are indeed at a loss on how to deal with the digital revolution, which is neither going to abate nor going to stop. Today's summit happens to be rather fortunate and privileged to have in its midst the High Priest, Dr. Sanjay Bahal, as the chief guest. I have a vested interest in taking advantage of his presence and mentioned to him that some time back I had read in the newspaper about the formation of the Cyber Command by Government of India with a czar at its head to lead and implement security strategy across the multiple agencies on public-private partnership. I was also informed by the newspaper that a joint working group would come up as an advisory body to work in tandem with information sharing and analysis centers at different parts of India, including in the states. In keeping with that, the CERT-IN, of which he is the Director General at the helm of affairs, would have sectoral offices, including the one in Calcutta. I therefore get tempted to make a fervent request to Mr. Bahal, being a cyber citizen, to kindly consider holding hands of the states and the private partners in working out the dream that the Government of India has documented in its document and carry them along the joint venture to deal with the cyber war. Friends, as I see developments around the world, India is at the tipping point with the world at its stage. As you all know, India happens to be the third largest internet community in the world. India happens to be the fifth most spied upon country, with oil, gas, military, intelligence, information technology being declared as very vulnerable. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I personally feel that this particular summit appears to be a good augury in our march to deal with the subject in a professional manner. We have to bear in mind that cyber security, or internet for that matter in particular, has been one of the best inventions of human mind, and therefore will be failing in our duty if we fail to do what is required of us to protect and ensure that internet is not misused or abused by a few cyber crooks unleashing attacks and crimes all the time. I therefore hope this summit to be a grand success and request Mr. Shushabon Mukherjee to invite me, and thank you all, hoping you a good luck, and thank you for the indulgence given to me.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Debashish Sen, the Additional Chief Secretary of IT, Government of West Bengal, for his address.
I would start with the last part of today's seminar, which is about opportunity. Cyber security is not merely a threat, it's an opportunity, and the Government of West Bengal of thinking of harnessing this opportunity in a scientific manner. A few weeks ago, there was a report published that said that cyber security experts are getting scarce. They are commanding salary ranging from 2 crores to 4 crores or more per year. absolutely fantastic. Their wage is increasing by 25 to 35% year on year since last year. This goes on to prove that there is a huge demand that is coming forward in the next phase of digital India, where we must be prepared, or we shall be left behind. And the same report adds that it's not only at the top leadership level, but also at the middle level and at the entry level. And therefore, it is important for us to take policies so that in the next few years, this part of the world, in East India, in Bengal, we shall be ready to get into our young, talented boys and girls to be ready to join this force. For it is a war, and to fight a war, you need soldiers. The more and more that we are getting into the cyber world, there will be the good cyberspace and the dark cyberspace, and there shall be a war between them, and there shall be a necessity of police, army, navy, air force, or in whatever form that you can think of. No wonder today among the panelists we have a preponderance of police officers. But will they be equipped? Will a gun help you thwart a ransomware? So therefore, there has to be a very specialized mode of training, and this is the one thing that our proposed new Cyber Security Center of Excellence, that is in the formative days, a cabinet decision has already been taken. One of the pillars for this Center of Excellence on cyber security in Kolkata, which will be set up in Rajarhat New Town, the premises has already been decided, will be to take and spread this education, skill and training so that our boys and girls and the leadership level is ready to take on this talented necessity that is going to come. The other thing that of course our Center of Excellence on Cyber Security is planning to do is a matter that has already been touched upon, is to develop a firm partnership with the private sector. Especially, we are very confident that in Calcutta, an R&D center for cyber security is very much in order. Already, several firms I know of are doing excellent work in R&D, because, as somebody said, you can never prevent completely a cyber attack. This is the second task, that is an in-house laboratory with a panel of external experts that we are proposing to build in the Center of Excellence in Cyber Security. But at the same time, while we will definitely have a very good partnership with the private sector, we do believe that it's very necessary to internalize with the collaboration of everybody wishes to establish itself as a R&D center of excellence in the matter of cyber security, as a matter of talent, creating talent, and as a matter of advising and creating general awareness among all the people of India, so that tomorrow we will be more immune to the risks of cyber security. Our cyber army will be more immune from people in the neighboring countries who are not very favorably inclined towards us, and therefore our economy can move forwards in a much better manner. We wish to have further networks out of this seminar. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Vinit Goel, who's the IPS Additional Commissioner of Police 1, Chief Information Security Officer, Government of West Bengal, for his address.
Good morning, esteemed colleagues on the dais and the friends. Well, today we are increasingly living in a digital world, an interconnected world where even in India itself, more than 1 billion people have Aadhaar cards today. The Aadhaar cards are being linked to bank accounts, they are being linked to our mobile phone numbers, they are being linked to ration cards, a country where more than 300 million people are still illiterate, but then they will ultimately have to take help of this digital world to maintain their day-to-day lives. So in a scenario where you just you would not be able to live without being part of this digital world, though you are illiterate, that equipment cost, telephone cost, the data cost, they are coming down dramatically. And almost everyone, we have more than 1 billion telephone mobile connections today, almost about 400 million internet connections today. So how do these people who do not have the basic knowledge of education would have the digital education? And in fact, many of us have become victims of various cyber crimes. So protecting these new set of people who are getting into this digital world is a very important challenge for the country. And that is where I think we need the help of the cyber security industry, the businesses who actually are also getting affected because of various issues around cyber security, the research institutions who are important stakeholders in this entire ecosystem. And these conferences like this are very important for bringing together the policymakers, law enforcement officers, people from the industry, users who are ultimately would be using the various cyber products for the conveniences, for them to know what are the risks, how to educate them about the risk which happens. Now, having to educate 1 billion people about the cyber security risk is certainly going to be a challenge. Is it going to be, how do we scale up our education or awareness program? Can the industry create a product through which they can deliver the education programs to the people, to every person who actually gets an internet connection? The moment a person applies for an internet connection, he will mandatorily have to go through a 10-minute or 20-minute odd kind of a video where he is made aware of the various kinds of risks which might be there before he starts using these internet connections. So I think these are challenges which exist before us. They are there before policymakers, before researchers, before all institutions. And I believe we will have to, these conferences certainly provide an opportunity for each one of us to deliberate, all stakeholders to deliberate about issues and find solutions around them. I would be speaking to all of you on in the second half at 2 o'clock in details about the issues around the cyber security. And that is why I would not like to further delay you. Thank you so much.
Now I would request Mr. Hari Kishore Kusumakar, the IPS Additional Commissioner of Police 4, to come up.
This is the second edition of this conference. I remember we had a much humbler beginning last year in Salt Lake, where the number of participants were less and scale was also much lesser. So in fact, we have been discussing with the organizers last year itself that we need to have a kind of credible brand in Calcutta which can actually take up this kind of conferences to bring people from all major stakeholders on one platform and sharing things. So congratulations to the organizers. I think we are going in the right direction. And now we have with us the IT Secretary. I am sure that things are going to improve from further from here. I would also like to take this opportunity to inform all of you that before my stint in Calcutta Police, I was in National Police Academy, Hyderabad for last 5 years, where we have started a project, 2-year project for training of digital forensics, or maybe more for law enforcement perspective. And yesterday only I came to know that the MHA has agreed to continue this center in on a permanent basis from the MHA funding. So people who are not in the government won't realize the difficulty. We in the government, which we understand this, it's a great achievement for us, because when funding is there, it always runs. So, and added with that, MHA also allowed the center to conduct private courses or paid courses. The center was started with in association with CDAC Hyderabad, and we have developed curriculum for primarily for law enforcement agencies, and the center is now also conducting online courses. So far only the law enforcement people have got benefited, but in future, if anybody interested, they can always join online courses or the offline courses. It is going to be open for private people also. So in fact, when I see this, I also think that we should also take lead on the lines of other states. One example is Kerala. In fact, they organize something called Cocoon Conference. Cocoon Conference is organized in a much larger setup. They bring almost experts from all over the country, and mostly almost senior most, maybe chief minister or something very senior, they normally come and inaugurate. So just scale up the profile. They have vertical different tracks on different subjects. Cybersecurity itself is a big subject. I'm sure all of you must be coming with different expectation, and when the conference scale up, we need to take care of the requirement of individual groups within cybersecurity or within information security. Some law enforcement may be interested in something particular, other people may be interested in something else. So with multiple track, we can think of having a conference at a much larger scale, sir, and that will not only help the stakeholders, the industry itself will benefited. It may create a lot of opportunity, job opportunity, which you are looking for. And definitely, in fact, in East India, in fact, Calcutta is the place where people can come and join, and it can be a big center for taking this initiative forward. This is in a nutshell. We will be talking about. I'll be talking about digital forensics in the second half. So I'll close my session. Thank you very much for supporting this program, and I think that this only go better from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the kind and encouraging words. And finally, I would invite our chief guest, Dr. Sanjay Bail, the Director General, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, to come up and address the audience.
Good morning to my esteemed colleagues on the dais and all of you in the audience and media. I was just wondering, after all the people have spoken and already talked about what should be talked about, what should I be saying? With Dr. Datta starting it and Mr. Sen covering up everything with Vineet and all. So anyway, let me try and give some thoughts here. See, the ongoing digitalization of the economy and society holds many promises to spur innovation, generate efficiencies, and improve services throughout the economy. Moreover, the successful transition to a digital economy is a necessary condition for boosting inclusive and sustainable growth. All this has been possible due to the convergence of the physical and cyber world, and you are seeing more of that happening, and the adoption of new technologies, some which were alluded to by Dr. Datta, things such as social media, mobile, analytics, cloud, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Mr. Sen alluded to blockchain, etc. in cyberspace. Globalized economy, and there are bound to be risks. So can you outsource risk? Yes, no? You cannot outsource risk, right? And that is exactly what Mr. Sen mentioned. And there are bound to be risks. And what is risk? Risk is a function of threats, vulnerabilities, and consequences. So existing and potential threats in cyberspace are among the most serious and complex challenges of the 21st century. Due to its inherent nature, cyberspace is vulnerable to a wide variety of incidents, whether they are intentional or accidental, whether man-made or natural. And with the explosion of ICT and penetration of the internet, there is also a rise in the number of cybercrime and cybersecurity incidents involving malicious state and non-state actors. The rapid evolving threat landscape exposes the increased attack surface and the soft underbelly of the network systems, making them more vulnerable and difficult to separate or secure any particular area within the overall system. We've talked about threats and vulnerabilities, so what are the consequences? It is estimated that by the year 2030, an insecure internet would reduce the global economic net benefit by 90 trillion US dollars, while a completely secure internet would result in a global net gain of 190 trillion US dollars. It is also estimated that the G20 economies have lost 2.5 million jobs to a wide range of nefarious cyber activities, including counterfeiting, piracy, and cybercrime. And that is why Mr. Sen says he sees this as a huge opportunity. So the risks arising due to cybercrime and cybersecurity incidents have multifold impact on the nation and need to be mitigated. Hence, there is a need for rapid identification, information exchange, investigation, coordinated response, and remediation by responsible cybersecurity organizations and professionals to mitigate the damage caused by malicious cyberspace activity. And as Dr. Datta mentioned, cybersecurity is a journey. This journey requires partnerships and collaborative engagements through technical and operational cooperation, where shared understanding can be promoted to further the cause of security of cyberspace. One such initiative, because he did mention that he would like to see some things in PPP, has been the Cyber Swachhta Kendra, or the Botnet Cleaning and Malware Analysis Center. This is something which you heard about, the Swachhta Abhiyan of the government, right? Yes? So we're trying to do that in the cyberspace, and that is why the Cyber Swachhta Kendra. So moving from the physical to the cyber, as I said, there's a convergence. So why leave the cyberspace out from the Swachhta Abhiyan? So that is an initiative which I will talk about a little more in detail in the next session, where the government, the industry, the ISPs, and the academia are working together to make sure that it is a success and the cyberspace is clean. Since you are going to be bored by me in the next session also, and I'm sure you're all waiting for having a cup of tea, in closing, let me leave you with this thought, which you can think over during your tea break. India invented the zero, right? Yes, no? Now, is it time for India now to stand up once again in this age of zero-day cyber attacks to ensure zero defects in application development from a cybersecurity perspective, as well as zero defects in defense in depth to achieve zero cybersecurity breaches? Think over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insight. And ladies and gentlemen, we've almost reached the end of our inaugural ceremony. After this, of course, there's a very small tea break. But before that, I would like the mementos to be presented to our respected dignitaries. And for that, I would like to call on the stage Mr. Nirupam Chaudhuri and request him to hand over the memento to Mr. Sushobhan Mukherjee, to Mr. Shamol Dotto, IPS, Mr. Radhakrishnan Sundarasan to hand over the memento to Mr. Shamol Dotto, IPS. In the meanwhile, media, please stay here. I have a very important announcement to make. Mr. Radhakrishnan Sundarasan, I would request you once again to hand over the memento to Mr. Debashish Sen, IAS. I would request Professor Ashok Kolaskar, the ex-VC Pune University and the head of Nautya University, to come up on this stage and hand over the memento to Mr. Vineet Goel. I would also request Mr. Manjeet Naik to come up on this stage and hand over the memento to Mr. Hari Kusumakar, IPS. Mr. Manjeet Naik is a Regional Director of SDPI. I would also request Ms. Rama Vedasri, DSCI, to come up on this stage and hand over the memento to Dr. Sanjay Bail, DG, ICERT. Thank you so much. Well, that was a wonderful inaugural ceremony, and we will take a very short tea break, and we will be right back after the tea break with our technical sessions.
ক্যাবিনেট থেকে আমাদের একটা সিদ্ধান্ত হয়েছে যে তথ্যপ্রযুক্তির জগতে আজকে যে একটা বিপদ আসছে সাইবার সিকিউরিটি, যেটা আমরা প্রায় শুনে থাকি, যেখানে ছোট বড় সবাইকে এফেক্ট করবে, রাজ্যের মানুষকে এফেক্ট করবে, তার জন্য রাজ্য সরকারকে সক্রিয় হতে হবে এবং তার জন্য একটা সেন্টার অফ এক্সেলেন্স তৈরি হবে,
which will be on cyber security readiness for digital India. May I please call on stage Dr. Sanjay Bail, the Director General, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, for his keynote address.
Government of India has launched an ambitious Digital India program with the goal to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. While making efforts to achieve Digital India, the government is striving to make digital safe and secure India by focusing on securing Indian cyberspace and connected digital infrastructure in the country, which is utilizing the internet. The government has adopted a holistic approach towards securing the country's cyberspace, encompassing multiple initiatives like cybersecurity policy, compliance and assurance, security incidents in terms of early warning and response, security training, specific R&D in the space of cybersecurity, and enabling legal frameworks and collaboration. So in short, India has a robust cybersecurity policy and architecture in place to build a secure and resilient cyberspace for citizens, businesses, and the government through a multi-layer approach. I'm going to be touching upon each of these so that you get a perspective as to what has been done and what is being done. The cybersecurity policy is aimed to protect information and information infrastructure, build capabilities to prevent and respond to cyber threat, reduce the vulnerabilities, and minimize damage from cyber incidents through combination of institutional framework, people, process, technology, and cooperation. What is most important is the legal framework. So there is, I'm sure you all are aware of the Information Technology Act 2000 and its amendment in 2008, which provides a comprehensive legal framework to boost e-commerce in the country and also to create enabling environment for e-commerce. It addresses various cyber offenses and crimes and protection measures against them. Some of these include data protection, punishment for identity theft, e-commerce frauds like phishing, frauds of online auction sites, sending offensive emails, multimedia offenses, cyber terrorism, pornography, including child pornography, breach of data, etc. It is this same act which created institutions like the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, the control of certifying authorities, adjudicating officers, etc. The Indian Computer Emergency Response Team is a 24 into 7 cybersecurity response mechanism and was started in 2004 January and is as per the provisions of the Section 70B of the IT Act. It is mandated to perform various functions such as collection, analysis and dissemination of information on cyber incidents, forecasting and alert of cybersecurity incidents, emergency measures for handling cybersecurity incidents, coordination of cyber incident response activities, and issue guidelines, advisories, vulnerability notes, white papers, etc. The government has formulated a cyber crisis management plan. This is for countering cyber attacks and cyber terrorism and is required to be implemented by all ministries, departments of central government, state government and their organizations as well as the critical sectors. The West Bengal state government has prepared the cyber crisis management plan, and the resiliency goals and objectives of this are to anticipate threats, withstand them, recover from them and evolve from them. So which means you have to understand what are the threats, you have to prepare what are you going to do for these threats, you have to have mechanisms to prevent it, you should be able to constrain and continue, you should be able to reconstitute them, and you should be able to transform and re-architect yourself. The other thing that has been carried out is cyber security drills. These are mock drills or exercises which are carried out on a regular basis by the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team for assessment of cyber security posture and preparedness of organizations in the government and critical sectors. So far 15 different drills have been carried out covering 148 organizations from the critical sector. 4 specific drills were carried out. You all might have heard about the WannaCry ransomware. Yes, no? So 4 specific drills were carried out on ransomware itself so that people understand what it is. And there are 2 types of drills that we carry out. One is the tabletop drills and the other is the actual injects on a vulnerable system that we provide, but it is not connected to your production system.
How do you craft a collaborative approach? Because the challenge in every enterprise is there are a lot of silos when it comes to the entire enterprise risk management strategy and enterprise risk mitigation strategy. There's risk that is taken care of by finance and audit. There are risks which are taken care of by maybe in the manufacturing sector, your entire shop floor management people. It could be risk being mitigated by the operational managers. Then there is IT, then there is risk, and then there is security, information security teams. So the entire evolving or crafting a enterprise risk management strategy and an enterprise risk mitigation strategy usually is siloed unless you're an extremely mature enterprise with a very mature enterprise risk management. And we don't see too many of them at the desired level of maturity, not only in India but across the globe. And that is why we have challenges of how does the enterprise step up its ability to deal with the current challenges of cyber risk, which many of the senior speakers in the inaugural session talked about. So that would be the focus of my session. So why do we have this conference? Why do we have this Infosec Global Conference? The only reason is that we see the entire world, every enterprise, whether it is a small and medium business, whether it's a very large Fortune 100, Fortune 50 company, whether it's, you know, the large diversified conglomerates, it's a bank, it's a payment bank, and also government organizations, whether it's even law enforcement or anybody doing, you know, supply chain management in government, transportation, all of them adopting digital technologies.
I just handed over to somebody, but I've been working in IT risk for nearly 20 years now, including some of the topics that we'll talk about.
So we are actually trying to build a framework for our bank, and similarly we are working accordingly. And in this activity, we sometimes, I mean most of the time, we work with differently. We work with Big Four, we work with other companies. We take their support, we take their assistance, and we align with their views and our thought, so to be the one of the best bank in Bangladesh.
The internet is becoming now very, very critical, and it's opportunity, as somebody was saying in the morning. And more important is that how do we convert this opportunity, ensuring that the pillar of cybersecurity remains, intact, in order to get, garner the best opportunities from that perspective. I think FireEye, being the largest, I would say, cyber breach investigation company in the world, and the global leader into the APT space, I think, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of responsibilities on our shoulder. More important, I think, from the Indian context point of view, just want to, give some inputs, Harish, here, is that, yeah, we still have about 15% of the total global workforce based out of India here. I think that's what we are. I think we'll discuss more actually, as we go along. I think I don't want to spend more time on this one.
I'm a programmer. I write code. Okay, that's my identity. Every week, at least 3 days of a day, I write code and I compile code. Okay, and hence, that's where I am. Maybe we'll talk more about this later on. But remember me as the programmer.
So, if you ask me my view, Harish, about cybersecurity today and what are we seeing in India and globally as well. So, cybersecurity, without any doubt, in this digital age, as somebody talked about, is, to me, I think it's one of the most imperative things for economic prosperity of any country and company today. And the reason I say that is because everything that we do today in the society is driven by these technologies, right? There's a huge amount of productivity gains and innovation that is happening because of this technology in here. And if you see, majority of your innovation depends or relies on the technology beneath it. And these technologies today relies on the trust of the users like yourselves, customers, people, citizens, that kind of trust this technology to operate more effectively and more securely, for that matter, right? And a very simple correlation, if the user doesn't trust the technology, he will not use it. And if he doesn't use it, I think the gains that we are anticipating will just not happen. And that's the reason I'm saying it is imperative for economic prosperity of any country and company.
These are threat agents where we're talking of different hacktivists, criminals, industrial spies. Everybody is going to get onto it, get into that smart city. If I'm going to hack a smart city, it's very easy. I need to just get onto one of the camera or one of the inputs, get into the complete network, bring it down, right? So what I have written is, we don't have any regulators today. Biggest problem. Nobody knows. Everything is going, hunky-dory. So this is where we need to be very careful about. These are some of the top threats which are there: regulatory and legal, competitive, financial and internal policy. We can develop on each. I'll not do time. Okay. This is one very interesting. This is a current IoT security problem where we talk of, we have been talking only in the cybersecurity, we talk of the server, we talk of network, we talk of application.
Now may I request Professor Dr. Shumon Mukherjee and Brigadier Balbir Singh, mentors, Willflow Handicrafts, and founder Devender Singh to present the memento to Mr. Shushobhon Mukherjee, the chairman of Infosec Foundation.
Before I get started, I briefly want to talk about Rebit. So Rebit is a Reserve Bank Information Technology Private Limited. This is a private company that has been set up by RBI. And this company is a fairly young company. We were just set up last year. So the second technology I want to talk about is this DMARC. It's domain-based message authentication, reporting and conformance. This is a technology which is a very low-hanging fruit. See, the majority, so this is a campaign that we started, anti-phishing campaign, with a goal that we'll get to 100% DMARC deployment across all the financial institutions in 1 year time period.
The panel discussion on cloud security services versus...
And now we are at the fag end of this session. So what we're going to do, discuss today in this session is more in terms of having security being delivered as a service from the cloud versus on-premise deployment of security.
If on-premise hosting or application requires the security services which can be given from a hosting service cloud provider, it is anticipated well that the organization has to invest a lot in terms of the tools in terms of the software, and in terms of human resources, which will be required to run those tools.
What made me convert into a someone from a no to yes for cloud security? The reasons for adopting security solutions from the cloud would be very much similar to reasons for adopting data center or infrastructure from the cloud. The reasons are definitely agility, faster time to deploy, proven use cases, lesser manageability or better manageability, I mean lesser number of people I have to employ. The benefits are enormous. There was a time when companies used to deploy firewalls, IPSs, anti-APTs, all in their perimeter, all in their own networks. And the time and resources they have to spend in managing and operating them, and then making a SOC out of them and to have a total picture of the cyber security would be enormous for these companies.
So Parthasarthi, I'd like to throw that same question at you and understand your views on it.
So for testing and for seeing and for evaluating how they are going to do it, they are generally migrating their non-critical data first and then checking it out and then eventually going and putting their critical data also. By this they are coming across whatever threats they are handling it, and again the organization has to look at the cost of doing it and the expertise that they have. So amount of expertise that a cloud service provider will be able to give and the amount of security that cloud service provider will be give will be immense in terms of what organization will be able to provide at premise.
So I thank you everyone. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So we have academic programs and research and development. We are basically training for banks and BFS sector. We have some cyber security specific initiatives that we will be talking about it. IB card, cyber security drills and CISO forum meetings. So IDRBT, as I said, it is a Reserve Bank of India institute set up in 1996. Okay, something like the FSI, similar on the similar lines to FSI. Okay, is the US. So the objective is okay, to conduct research and intelligence gathering to alert the members and support development of content is posted to the IB card database and facilitate cross-sector information exchange.
We all are in agreement today that there is a need of cyber security in all aspects of life, not just the IT but also otherwise, right? In a cyber education we talk about cyber awareness, but with this information, what should be our next step? When we go back to our networks or our daily lives, what are we gaining out of it? So let's try to get little into that direction and then see. So we all understand that we are in digital world, it's a digital life, everything is connected. There are a lot of jargons thrown by the analysts like IoT and the other things which connected worlds and then very well spoken English words. But then what does it mean behind, what does it mean to us? This is what is actually happening due to this.
So let's not, so I'm not going to spend too much time around the data that is available on the internet today, that how many attacks happened, etc., and all that stuff. So let's just quickly talk about how we can look at the solution today when we are actually defining our security blueprint. Okay. Before I start my presentation, I would like to put on 4 things which are actually critical today when I talk to a lot of these analysts and when I talk to most of the CISOs and the CIOs. The 4 important things that comes to our mind is first that we're looking at integration, right? We're looking at more the point products that you have today in your organization, more the gaps you're creating for your organization. So first thing that we need to fix today is that we need to have the less point products so that we have less security gaps.
So yes, we just wanted to skip this one for a while because we are very happy to have Mr. Bratto Boshu, the Honorable Minister in charge of Information and Technology and Electronic Department, Government of West Bengal with us. Sir, can I please have the pleasure of having you on this stage?
Good afternoon to you all. I am very happy indeed to attend this conference on cyber security organized by Infosec Foundation. When I was told of this conference, I was happy to learn of such an initiative in this emerging area which is connected with the present way of living our lives. On the core objectives of our beloved Chief Minister, Srimati Mamata Banerjee, is to create an environment in Bengal where a large number of jobs are created. We in the Information Technology and Electronic Department under her leadership have taken up multifarious activities to expand the scope of employment of our youth. Constructions of IT parks, hardware parks and electronic manufacturing clusters, etc. throughout the state are some of our key initiatives. Coupled with this, we have a robust startup policy with a lucrative incentive scheme to promote new and young entrepreneurs. And I take this opportunity to share with you that our respected and honorable Chief Minister will unveil a more attractive incentive scheme very soon. Here our academia, training providers, teachers have a pivotal role to play. This training means collaboration between theory and practice, which in turn means that there must be sharing of information and practice between research institutions, skill imparting bodies, corporations, technology providers, legal and enforcement department and other relevant governance agencies. In this regard, I can assure you that the cyber security is a prior area for our government to protect our assets and to curb cyber crime and nab the cyber criminals through better policing and informants. On the other hand, we are emphasizing to create capabilities in this area so that we not only use this to protect our own assets and citizens, but trade these capabilities with the world. We believe that we will be the real fulfillment of the vision of our concept, which created by our Honorable Chief Minister Bishwa Bangla, as envisaged by her, a scenario where Bengal offers to extend herself to the world. In fast track this process, we are on our way to setting up a cyber security center of excellence in New Town in Sector 5 very soon. Infosec Foundation mission of creating awareness about cyber security is very relevant and it has various dimensions. I find the conference is inclusive and interdisciplinary, and I think this is the best approach to handle such a theme. I know my secretary, principal secretary, has come in this morning and he delivered about our goals and deliverables. But I also thank them for Infosec, every members and initiators for inviting me and our department to this conference. Lastly, I wish to share that we are ready with all infrastructure and state of our facilities. Come and join to our endeavor. I can assure that once you come, there will be no looking back. Thank you.
Fact that digital forensics is a subset of cybersecurity, but it's distinctly different from the subject. It is also important to understand the difference because most of the conference, people talk about cybersecurity. Very few people talk about digital forensics. And the procedure to know how to make digital evidence admissible, it is still in a gray area. In 2015, Rajasthan High Court gave a very lengthy judgment. There have been multiple judgments in between. So, I mean, it is all about procedure. So you can understand it takes 15 years to highest court to define what is to be admissible and how any evidence to be admissible. And that is where the challenge is. And we are in a digital age where things are changing almost every day.
So, talking about forensics perspective, simple, a scientific manner, where we have to talk about tools, talking about standards, and then when you add your skills called your intelligence, your sense of humor, and then you mix all these three things, then it creates a forensics. You're not talking about any SOP, simple thing like we follow any predefined framework. For example, any malware came in market or any malware came in your company, and if you focus on by default kind of framework, you're not able to find, you're not able to close that particular threat. Correct me? It's true. Second thing, talking about the forensic challenges forensic challenges, the first major thing is what, as per FBI, when they said that 25% of threats, they even don't know from where it came from. They don't know the profile. And you see, recently, you see in market, they release so many hacks, so many data breaches. But if you see exactly how these things are happening, these are the main thing. So once you go to the in-depth, not talking about deep web or dark web, it's called Mariana Trench kind of very, very detailed thing. Then only you get to know exactly how these things, how these indicators, how these particular operations are performing. Talking about investigation, generally why do we fail? Imparted my role with respect to academic, law enforcement as well, to corporate sector as well. But the thing is what the challenges mainly is talking about the basics.
So we have seen, we have heard our colleagues talk about what we are doing nowadays. So you have also heard people talk about perimeter security has been around for a long time. It's not really working. So around 2005, before 2005, we were really talking about how do I protect myself by creating walls, right? 10 years down the line, we were talking about how do I take all of these data, create intelligence by creating a whole bunch of rules and making sure that I can understand how people are what people are doing, and if this doing is a bad sequence of steps, stop them. Right? So we were talking about security intelligence that really helps me understand how people are doing bad things. Is intelligence really helping us be there where we want to be? Of course it is there. I mean, we are in a state of security, as Dr. Behal was also talking about in the morning. We're doing a lot of things. There is a state of security. But we also know there is a whole bunch of gaps that we have to work on. And identifying these gaps and being ready with these gaps is what is very important. The first gap, we've got all this intelligence, but are we really confident that this intelligence is going to deliver me what it is supposed to deliver? I have this huge bunch of data which is in front of me, but I'm really concerned about my attack.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know the crowd is thinning down, too much of cyber security from the morning, but the panel discussion here is for people who wants to be an entrepreneur or otherwise, and the subject, as you all know, is opportunities in cyber security.
So I'm primarily going to be talking about what we can do as security experts, right? We've been hearing about so many things right from the morning. We've been hearing about new trends and new malware and all of that. But one thing, if you look at that is common across all of this, is that at some layer or the other, we are still being reactive. At some layer or the other, there is still a certain reluctance to take the actual dive in security. If you look at your users and your data, both of them have already moved out of the network. And yet, we are still confining our security to our enterprise network.
Now the point to note is that cyber security is a very, very complex area because the surface area is already very large, and as we move ahead, the surface area is going to keep on increasing. So the technological complexity is so intense and so vast that it is going to be really, really difficult for even technologically savvy individuals and corporations to keep up to date with all that which is happening in cybersecurity.
The liability policies fall under the category of insurance that cover entities for the legal liabilities and costs, and it was noticed especially during regulations like HIPAA and when the SEC started increasing their regulations in the USA that the insurance part wasn't adequately covering the data liability, which led to the data liability cover which came in India also around 2013, 2014. And over the past, 4 to 5 to 6 years, the insurance has grown considerably. To give you an idea about how the product functions, it's divided into two parts. If I could really shorten it, it would be a third-party data liability cover and a first-party cost cover.
And on behalf of Infosec, I thank the panelists for
giving their best from their point of view. And thanks for Infosec.
When I was flying from Bangalore to Kolkata to attend this event today in the morning, I picked up the newspaper and I found that Bajaj Alliance has apparently started issuing cyber security insurance over the table to individuals. So far, we've only heard about organizations having this kind of insurance policy and protection. But what I read today in Times of India was that individuals could now have cybersecurity insurance for cybersecurity stalking, ransomware, and whatnot. There were so many categories. So that's how important cybersecurity space is becoming in itself, that it can actually target an individual and get him down, and then you have protection. So from an organization perspective, what I saw in my 14 years as a security expert is that it takes almost 10 to 20 years for a small or a medium or a large organization to become famous in the industry and then, you know, start profiting from its own businesses of products or services, whatever it is. Whereas it just takes a few minutes for them to collapse all their, you know, hard work and reputation and so on. Once they are hit by a cyber security incident, or let's say a cyber, you know, any kind of cyber threat as such.
Thank you so much, sir.
I would really like to thank speakers from all across the country and outside who has come in and made the content very rich. I would also like to thank all our sponsors, without whom actually we cannot even think of doing such a program. I would also sincerely like to thank our volunteers. I would like to thank, you know, DSCI NASCOM, our industry partner. I would also like to thank NASCOM East for, you know, supporting the cause and always staying with us. Also like to thank all our ICT industry colleagues, you know, extending their cooperation and making this really a grand success.
Atanu, and I have recently joined Semantic and based out of Calcutta. In this area, cybersecurity, because this is one of the area which is developing much faster than we think, and with the invasion of IoT, I think this is going to be much bigger. So thank you and congratulations for a great event.
Thank you very much, and we'll continue to have your support with us. Abhishek, please. A big hand. Thank you very much. Happy to have with us you as a partner, Abhishek.
To stay back till Friday night in some other city is always a crime. You're supposed to stay and come back. But I think thanks a lot. I think it was a very well received event, and I must thank Kaushik and the Sushaman for arranging this. Very well organized, very well received by the audience as well, and really very happy to be here. Very warm. Thank you all. And I'll keep coming back on regular basis now.
Yes, sure. So we really want a vibrant Kolkata in terms of business so that everybody keeps coming up regularly. Abhishek, to Srikanth. So he is giving away the award this year.
Kaushik and Sushaman have been after me for what, more than a year maybe. So we used to do events mostly with Infocom, and that goes back for many years. And finally, it's the first time we did with Infosec Global, and I think it gave me a lot of pleasure in coming down and having this event. We had one of the global head of security division also come down and speak at the event. I think it was very well organized, and I see a lot of potential in our working in this particular space, and maybe we can grow a relationship further as we move along.
Thank you so much. We are really happy to have you as partner. Abhishek.
Absolutely fantastic event. I mean, the City of Joy absolutely rocks. There's a lot of things that we need to do in terms of business, and we'll scale it up. Right. That's what my feedback is. Thank you.
Thank you. So here's a token of appreciation from Abhishek.
Fantastic event, very well organized, great platform to network with all security professionals and business partners, and great networking event, a lot of enlightenment. I'm happy to be here and I'll come again.
Wow, really thank you very much. So Abhishek, your turn.
Still started a new business services. Because with the enterprise wing of the main organization which is targeting services. I think this year is even bigger than last year, and I wish you guys that you make it even bigger and bigger next year. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Saurabh. Here is a token of appreciation to you from Abhishek.